someone said that there's a Paladin 7.0 rework. I think the 6.3 half rework was the only thing that they said.
I think they're changing Paladin as well a little bit, but I don't think it's a complete rework like they are.
Well, it could be because they'd said that, hey, we bigger plans. Here's what we're going to do in the short term, and so I am anticipating that when the media tour happens, Paladin, Dragoon, asked, are they gonna see, probably like we've seen before. You get your new jobs, and then basically you still get new jobs. These jobs can
kind of getting 4 jobs, really.
Yeah,
I always think of it like that. Is always missing Summoner, and my assumption is that Summoner gets reworks every expansion.
And Astrologian gets a rework every expansion, pretty much.
I think they're really happy with Summoner this time around, and I think Summoner's in a great place to get just things added to it rather than just reworked.
It would just be
that's what Dragoon feels like for me right now. It's like, don't touch it, please. It's okay.
How about this? They reworked Dragoon by giving it the dragon from Final Fantasy 11.
I said that.
Give it.
I said
make it happen.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to be the 11 Dragoon.
Let's get it. Yes.
Let's go.
But I love that
it would make sense story-wise because we're like Dragoons are now like friends with dragons.
Yes.
But
okay, that's not
Yoshi P doesn't like pet classes. We are getting Beastmaster eventually, but I'm like, no. Like,
I think it's
where it's allowed to break
Dragoons.
No, it wouldn't be a traditional pet job though, because the pet would just be attacking with your combos, so you wouldn't be commanding the pet. So it wouldn't be a traditional pet job. It would just be following you.
Like basically saying make it real
dragon.
Right? Like effectively getting you that extra level. Look, to be fair, I don't play Dragoon that much, so I'm not sure I should have an opinion on this. I just like that the Dragoon in 14 is more that Kane Highwind style Dragoon. Like I love that style and sensibility. But
100%. That's why this is the class that I started playing Final Fantasy 14 to play, and I have no other classes leveled up.
If you know what you like, if you know what you like, go with it.
Yeah.
If you like PvP so much and you do want to try one out, it is the easiest way to try one out because you get to that full set of PvP abilities the moment that they're PvP ready. So the moment you pick up your jobstone, you can charge into PvP. Level 30, level 90 doesn't matter. And they get experience. It sounds like you've leveled all the way to 90 doing that. So like it is a great way that if you ever decide to try another job out, like PvP is such 100%. A cool way to try a job. And it's not the same, but PvP is such an exaggerated version of the personality that if you don't like the way it plays in PvP, it might be an indicator that you wouldn't like it in PvE outside of like additional, like obviously like healer, for example, to me, drastically different in PvP than PvE. But with a DPS class, like if it doesn't look cool in PvP, and that's part of what drew you to it, it's not going to look cooler in PvE when I turn even more spell effects down.
Scholar's my least favorite PvP job. It's my favorite PvP job.
Oh, dude, the PvP, and just like how Framsey says, the jobs feel like they actually have their identities in PvP, and that's in due in part to like just a consolidation. Like
it's so distilled.
PvE has like, we got to add new skills, and at some point, what you guys have kind of talked about with the starting experience, I'm actually so thrilled because I thought I was just going to have another moment where Reddit is going to hate what I have to say about it, because stepping into the game like as a fresh account. Having been away from the game for, a little over a year and a half now, I was like, this is rough. You feel the age of this game immediately. It wasn't, and this is not comparing it to other MMOs on the market right now. This is just having beaten Final Fantasy 16, having stepped into Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I felt a time jump way back. It felt like I was like, I just jumped back 10 years in time, and I don't have all the fun little bells and whistles, and I have the benefit of knowing how to play this game.
Right.
So I knew what settings to go kind of play with to change from the default just to make my life easier. But I was like, holy crap, there's nothing that people are constantly like, how do I do this? And it's like, that's where guide makers, I don't think, will ever be irrelevant for Final Fantasy 14 because of how the current new player experience is. And so I was actually like, also one of the thoughts that I had when playing this, and also then comparing this to Final Fantasy 16, like I feel some weird design decisions that were made in 16 because it's the same engine. So you see various different kind of pacings and more. And then again, I shift right back into Final Fantasy VII Remake, which, you know, I just started playing for the first time. Rebirth is just right around the corner, and people are like, I know Chili and you guys have played the demo, and everybody, like every little tweet that I see that I quickly just scroll past so I don't end up like, you know, ruining that experience, is like very hyper positive about that. And that gives me a lot of hope for Square Enix and Final Fantasy, but it does make me look at Final Fantasy 14 and Final Fantasy 16 in a different light. These aren't bad games. However, I am curious about, like, they're doing the graphic update. Great. But that doesn't solve the new player experience. You know, they're doing these things. Cool. But you know, are you guys working on a Final Fantasy 14 2 or 17? Is there something coming up that is going to essentially allow this game to can live on and be kind of its time? Or are we going to ship a Theseus the whole thing, and eventually the issues that people are having today won't be issues tomorrow? What do you guys think?
I think it's probably ship of Theseus, because I mean that's what they've done so far. I mean that's been
That's
the
the
history of
MMO
this
solution.
game.
And that's kind of the Square Enix, not necessarily creative business unit 3, because there is kind of a distinction that needs to be made there.
Very much so.
Square Enix makes bad choices. That's just how it is. Look at like what they did with Deus Ex. Look at what they did with the Marvel franchise. Look at what they've done with Tomb Raider in the past or stuff like that. They make bad decisions and they bet poorly. And then you have Yoshi P and Final Fantasy come in and they're like, okay, I guess we're going to make up all your money and losses for the last fiscal year.
Yeah.
With our subscriptions. And so that really breaks the economy, though, of making a game, because you have all the profits coming in that should, realistically go back into helping make that game. And if all things were great, Yoshi would be getting all the money that he needed to go back and like do pet projects like ship a Theseus the beginning of the game, make it as good as the end of the game. But when you only have a budget that goes, okay, you can either make the beginning of the game good or you can make your next expansion, what are you going to do?
Well, and that's why we've seen a lot of the quality of life. Well, we have big quality of life that comes in with each expansion. They also use the patch content for that, right? That's what we've seen. Endwalker's, a lot of effort have gone towards that. I would also say that the amount of effort put in towards Endwalker show that they're clearly thinking about long-term and new user experience in such a way that the fact that they even mentioned reworking coils as a thing at NA FanFest makes me think that I do think this is a problem that's going to be on their mind going into 7.x and 8.0. I wonder how much of it will be addressed or solved in the near future within 7.0, just because there hasn't been anything directly stated on it. And usually they talk about that stuff pretty upfront and in advance.
And Walker's going to age weird because of what you just said. Like it's going to age as this gap. Because the total amount of content introduced in Endwalker was an enormous content list. And as somebody who played through WoW Cataclysm, during WoW Cataclysm, I had a lot of fun. But in hindsight, like you look back and there was more complaining than there was in the expansion before that. And it began this chapter of complaining that people look back as this pivotal moment. With hindsight, say that was a bad expansion. And Endwalker, when it first released, everybody was thrilled. But as that patch content that you noted did a great job of, Yoshi P a year ago, like this month, told us about a 10-year plan beginning with Dawn Trail. Yep. So I don't know on the math. Are we 9 years left to go? Is that 5 expansions? Whatever the math was. But and honestly, it was such a front-loaded presentation of that 10 years that like it seemed like most of that plan would have lived itself out.
I'm gonna blow your mind. It was actually 2 years ago, Chris, not last year.
Oh my gosh. We could only have 8 years left.
Yeah, I was like, I thought that was